ICC restrictions to dimension of the bat, player send-offs and new run-out rule take effect by the International Cricket Council's ICC. New playing conditions for international matches will be implemented starting with the Pakistan-Sri Lanka series beginning on September 28 in Abu Dhabi. The changes include a restriction on the dimensions of the bat, the introduction of player send-offs for misconduct, and changes to the decision review system in the run-out rule. The South Africa-Bangladesh Test series starting in Sendoffs Park, Potchefstroom will also follow the new rules. With regard to dimension of the bat, the playing conditions now restrict the size of the edges of the bats as well as their thickness. As per the new rules, thickness of the edges can't be more than 40 mm, and the overall depth can be 67 mm at most. To check the bat's legality, umpires will be issued with a new bat gauge. As per the playing condition pertaining to players' conduct, a player can now be sent off the field for the rest of the match for any serious misconduct. Threatening to assault an umpire, making inappropriate and deliberate physical contact with an umpire, physically assaulting a player or any other person, and committing any other act of violence all constitute level 4 offenses. UAE umpire Iftikhar Ali, who has just returned after officiating in the ICC World Cricket League matches in South Africa, said restricting the size of the edges of the bats as well as their thickness is very good for the game as it won't give any unfair advantage to the batsman, and there would be a good balance between bat and ball in a contest. UAE's experienced umpire Tariq Butt hailed restricting the rule regarding bat and said it's important that all batsmen use the same size bat, and that illegal bat sizes is checked. Ali lauded the rule regarding players' conduct. This rule will discipline the players. It is important that the code of conduct is followed by all cricketers. Referring to the umpires being given the power to send off a player from the field for the rest of the match for any serious misconduct, but said it's time that cricket umpires were also given the power to send off players for misconduct like in football and hockey. This will check any attempt of misconduct on the field. As for decision review system DRS in test matches, there will be no more top-up reviews after 80 overs of an innings, meaning that there can only be 2 unsuccessful reviews in each innings, while the DRS will now also be allowed to be used in T20s. As per the new run-out rule, if a batsman is running or diving towards the crease with forward momentum, and has grounded his or bat behind the popping crease, but subsequently has lost contact with the ground at the time of the wickets being put down, he or she will not be run out. The same applies to regain his or ground to avoid being stumped. With regard to boundary catches, airborne fielders making their first contact with the ball will need to have taken off from within the boundary, otherwise a boundary will be scored. Similarly, a batsman can now be out-caught, stumped or run out, even if the ball bounces off the helmet worn by a fielder or wicketkeeper. What the new rules say to Test series starting on Thursday: Pakistan v Sri Lanka and South Africa v Bangladesh, will mark the introduction of a number of new rules in cricket. There are 17 changes or introductions, and these are the major ones which will be applied to all formats of the game. The restriction on the length and width of bats remained unchanged, but the thickness of the edges cannot be more than 40 mm, and the overall depth can be 67 mm at most. Umpires will be issued with a new bat gauge, which they can use to check a bat's legality. A player can now be sent off the field for the rest of the match for any serious misconduct, such as threatening to assault an umpire, making inappropriate and deliberate physical contact with an umpire, physically assaulting a player or any other violent conduct. A review by a team using DRS will now not be lost in case of a decision that remains unchanged, solely as the result of an umpire's call. A batsman is no longer considered run out or stumped if running or diving towards the crease with forward momentum and has grounded the bat behind the popping crease, but subsequently has lost contact with the ground at the time of the wickets being put down. For boundary catches, airborne fielders making their first contact with the ball will need to have taken off from within the boundary, otherwise a 4 or 6 will be scored. A batsman can now be out-caught, stumped or run out, even if the ball bounces off the helmet worn by a fielder or wicketkeeper.